Tales of Kandris.
An icy wind blew in from the door, disturbing the smoke-filled air of the large hearth room. Curious as to who was entering, the usuals turned bemused eyes towards the closing door. A man threw back the hood of his fur-lined coat, revealing thick, dark brown hair and beard. Stormy grey eyes take in the surroundings as the patrons resumed their drinking. He approaches the bar and takes a seat.
"Welcome, friend,"
came the greeting from the other side of the bar. The voice belonged to a woman with slightly greying red hair. There were faint smile lines beside her green eyes and an inviting, honest smile. She was charming, in the way only warm homes, hearty times and happy times are.
"What can I get you?"
she asked, gesturing to the large assortment of ales and lagers behind her.
"Information, honestly,"
the man replied.
"That comes with a one-drink minimum,"
the bartender retorted, waving a finger. Exasperated, the man asked for a mug of Founder's Gold, a local favorite, and asked if there were any rumors currently swarming about in the area. There was the usual hubbub of settlement life, fights here and there. A local official was caught in a compromising position with a man's wife. There was, however, an interesting story from a band of adventurers guarding a caravan from the White Spines.
"Are they still nearby?"
he asked. The bartender's thumb pointed to her left.
"Big table, left of the hearth."
Raising his mug in appreciation, the man walked in the direction she pointed. The group turned towards him as he approached. They were a competent bunch, judging by their confident demeanor. He bought them several rounds of drinks, and after a rowdy exchange of stories, jokes, and toasts, he had the information he needed. Afterwards, he thanked them for their time and left. Breathing in the crisp, early second shading air, walking back to the inn he was staying at, he reached into one of his many coat's inner pockets and pulled out a single golden hairpin. At the top, there was a small flower made of pink crystal with a gold center. It was a gift to Gwenfer for her first light day, after he had returned from patrolling the outer reaches of Tavern, his home settlement. He had been saving up much of his weekly stipend of silver chips, and happened upon it at a jeweler's store one day. After the customary bout of haggling, the merchant parted with it for 1 gold and 11 silvers. She was so happy when he gave it to her.
"Oh, Onres!"
she exclaimed, carefully taking it from him.
"It's beautiful."
Gwenfer gave him a stronger hug than her thin body implied, carefully put her long raven tresses in a bun, and pierced the pin through to hold it in place. It was a perfect accessory and complemented her already pretty face. It was then that Onres grabbed her hand, looked deeply into her green eyes, and asked her to marry him. She leaped into his arms.
"Trickster!
She smiled with tears in her eyes.
How could I possibly say no?"
Later on, they approached her father for his blessing, which he gave immediately, having known Onres since he was a boy. Both of their families rejoiced, and the whole settlement was overjoyed. Plans were set for the ceremony and the feast that would follow. The dates was set for 4/8 shades. Everyone was buzzing with excitement. Gwenfer wore the pin everywhere she went, going to market while working at her father's bookshop, and even when cooking. She was never without it, and it was her prized possession. The future of their life together was brighter than after-shading sunlight. Then she went missing. Onres had found out after he had returned from his scheduled patrol. Her parents said she went out with her friends into fields to pick flowers, but she never returned. After extensive searching for many movements, they found her unresponsive in a clearing of a nearby forest some distance away. Physically, she seemed unharmed, but no matter what they tried, she would not awaken. Looking down at her, face blank and expressionless, like a doll, Onres was speechless. He thought of all they had planned, all their dreams. Grabbing her hairpin, the young man told her family he would fix this, and left. He had learned of mind workers that specialized in situations like this. After 1 year of training, he had become a reclaimer. Onres squeezed the trinket in his hand and concentrated. He was still on the right track. The connection was strained, but still there. He was closer. A violent shove brought him out of his reverie. Gwenfer's hairpin skittered across the cold cobbles of a back alley. Onres reached out just as a swaying, cloaked figure swiftly moved over it. A clawed, four-fingered hand shot out from under the cloak and grabbed it. The stranger ran into the darkness of the alley. Onres pursued not far behind. He chased the figure through the narrow, twisting alleyways. His boots slipped on the slushy stones, cursing himself for his lack of awareness. The chase led into one of the settlement's wellhouses. The door was unlocked and hung open on its hinges. His eyes were just getting adjusted while he slowly crept inside. Large wooden buckets descended into the darkness of a wide hole in the middle of the floor. The steady clack and click of gears hid sounds, and the constant mechanical movement made it hard to spot the thief. Onres had just maneuvered his way past the ordered chaos of machinery to find the figure staring down into the hole. Mischievous red eyes grinned evilly from within the folds of the cloak as it jumped into the inky blackness below.
Of course.
He breathed, approaching the hole. Nothing could be seen from this height. No choice for it, he had to go down there. Grasping the ladder a few paces towards the outside, he slid down carefully into the unknown. After several moments and a few close calls, he was at the bottom. He landed on a stone platform next to a giant tunnel where water rushed into the well. Tributary tunnels helped distribute the overflow into other wells through the area. 5 in total led away for the main. Laying of the wet, fitted stone floor not far from his feet was the dirty, dark brown cloak he had seen earlier. He turned it over with the toe of his boot. Nothing stirred. No sign of who or what wore it. He glanced around him, trying to see where the thief might have gone. Frigid, splashing water made it hard to find any tracks or marks. Several failed attempts later, Onres decided to try a different tactic. He begrudgingly handled the discarded cloak and concentrated, seeking the thread of connection between it and the thief. His eyes glowed a bright blue in the gloom. There, he found it. It was faint but visible, a wiggling green light tracing from the cloth across the water and into the second tunnel to the right. He leapt the gaps towards his goal and carefully walked along the ledge into the passage. He pulled a long, thin mushroom from the satchel by his side. Flicking it gently twice, it began to glow, providing light to better navigate the narrow walkway. Onres carefully scanned his surroundings, approaching every corner warily in case of ambush. There was a large breach in the tunnel wall, leading into a natural cave. Confirming the light trail led inside, he walked on. Thanks to his vigilance, he noticed the trap in time. It was fairly sophisticated, given the materials used to make it. There was a very thin, almost translucent thread stretching across the path. Using his light to follow along its length, he found that it connected to a stick wedged under a wooden plank higher up the wall and further down the path. It wasn't hard to guess what was being held up there. His eyes narrowed as he stepped over the tripwire. Someone has a nasty sense of humor. This only made him increase his awareness, doubting that this was just set up for him. Having to keep an out for traps made this trip longer than he preferred, but there was no helping it. Avoiding several other surprises on the way, he found himself walking into a dank, large chamber. The smell alone could gag even the most hardened warriors. Along the walls were broken crates and barrels. Garbage was mixed with discarded bits of glass, broken pottery and other junk. Piles of gnawed bones were scattered off to his right. Other smaller tunnels led outward into the dark. Quick, furtive footsteps rushed behind him. He turned his head slightly in the direction of the sound, but didn't whirl around in a panic. Evil red eyes peered out at him from the shadows. Small figures slowly appeared just outside the light of his glowstool. Onres grimaced.
Grimlings.
The creatures had dark grey skin covered in wispy dark hair. Vicious claws adorned their four-fingered hands. Jagged, dirty teeth grinned widely under the mischievous light of their eyes. Spite and cunning wrapped in a hunched little body. Out from among the dark, disgust press of bodies, something pushed closer to the light. She, at least Onres assumed it was a she, was much larger than the others. A dirty gown covered her form, and she had a head full of greasy dark hair. It was held up by something glimmering the glowstool's light. Gwenfer's hairpin. The creature held up her right hand with an upheld index finger and a slightly crooked thumb facing towards him. It was the sign asking to use open thought, the common parlance. He nodded his agreement, repulsed by the idea of touching this creature's mind. It was probably equally as unappealing as the thing's appearance. An image of a grasping hand, followed by Gwenfer's hairpin, shone in honor. This is mind. It was a question. Do you want this back? He nodded yes. The image of the grasping hand returned. So it's a trade she wants. Unconsciously, he ran through an inventory of all his possessions, his weapons, tools, other trinkets. An idea came to him just then. Keeping the mental inventory foremost in his thoughts, he reached into his satchel. The smaller Grimlings glared at him suspiciously, and their mother's eyes became slits. He waved the hand with the glowstool slowly, indicating he meant no harm. With his other hand, he produced a large silver coin. On one side, there was an inscription of a leaping cloud-hop stag, the other, the image of a maple leaf. It was a cloud-hop grand from Danurin. He sensed interest in the female's mind as it shined in the glowstool's bluish glow. Onres fit the coin into the air quickly and caught it, making sure he had her attention. He repeated the motion, once, twice, thrice, then held it out to her. She tentatively began to reach out for it. He flipped it high into the air, catching all of the fetid group's attention. While they were distracted, he reached into his coat pocket and threw 2 pepper oil flasks on the ground. The large female's eye widened as she caught the movement too late. The flasks broke on the rocky floor, and the chamber was immediately full of the pungent, stinging scent. The Grimlings scattered, retching and coughing from the smell. Even the female reacted violently. Holding his breath, Onres snatched Gwenfer's hairpin from out of the creature's greasy mane and ran out of the chamber. He hadn't retraced his route back for long before he heard the sound of clawed feet in hot pursuit. Thinking on his feet again, he decided to use the unpleasant little surprises he met along the trip here to his advantage. A lunge here, a thrown stone there, and the pursuers were getting a very unwelcome taste of their own medicine. While it may have slowed down a few, Onres suspected there were many more, dozens maybe. As he neared the cave entrance, he picked up a rock and threw it at the stick trap he noticed earlier. It hit square, sending the wide plank sliding from its high perch. A massive shower of stone began falling from the ceiling just as he dove out of the way. He looked behind him at the wreckage. It completely blocked the passage, making further pursuit unlikely. The young reclaimer continued the rest of his way back to the surface. Reaching the main inlet room, he carefully rinsed Gwenfer's hairpin in the waters heading through a tributary. It took a while to clean whatever grime in the Grimling female's hair, but once it was clean, back into his coat it went. Climbing out of the well, he stepped into the orange dimness of Chalithro's encroaching shadow. It would soon be second shading. Onres walked back to his lodgings, congratulating himself for the astounding success. He was able to retrieve Gwenfer's hairpin from a Grimling brood, and all it cost him was a silver coin. Notifying the watch about what happened to him, he continued on his way. A good meal and a hot bath was in order. Onres greeted the new day early, stretching before his usual calisthenics, then cleaning himself before leaving. He descended the stairs to the large dining area of the inn. Hargard's Comfort wasn't the best inn he'd been in, but the food was good, and his room was reasonably clean. He didn't need more than that.
Onres!
A jovial voice boomed.
You're up early. Figured you'd wake up later after your little adventure.
He turned to see the inn's proprietor coming out from the kitchen in the back. He was a stout fellow, broad of shoulder with a bit of a paunch. An easy smile spread widely under blue eyes and a mop grey hair. In a former life, he was once a well-known treasure hunter, travelling over much of Sunwood and even the Darkfold in search of fame and fortune. Time and several close calls had seen to his retirement, but not without a fair bit of wealth in the end. This inn was proof of his investment in the local economy. He and Onres chatted briefly when he bought a room, and Onres found him to be very likable.
Can't sleep the day away that easily, Hargard.
Onres replied, after ordering breakfast from the serving girl passing by.
I'm leaving after I have something to eat.
Off on that business of yours, I suppose.
The larger man clapped him on the shoulder in passing.
Well, clear skies and easy snows for your journey. And if you need a warm bed and good food, you know where to come.
He laughed heartily while striding past the front desk and out into the daylight. Onres considered his next move while he ate. Judging by the conversation he had last night, his target wandering near the Shield Pines. The forest curved lazily around the eastern foothills of the White Spines. It would take around 2 8 shades to get there, and who knows how long to find what he was looking for. He would need to prepare carefully.
If you enjoyed the content, please support this channel by liking, subscribing, and ringing the notification bell for more. Thank you.